Hello. Thank you for tuning into this episode of Unity Gain for this very special interview with guitarist Rick Greenlee. We recorded this interview in the summer of 2019 as Rick was battling cancer and undergoing chemotherapy. He was resolved and courageous, but he was also hopeful. Shortly after we recorded this interview, Rick received the wonderful news that he had gone into full remission. He went back to performing, and he and I discussed trying to find time to get together to intercut the changes with this particular video. And shortly after that, he received the terrible news that the cancer had returned with a vengeance. I didn't know what to do. I sat on this video for a long time, and Rick, I apologize. It's time to get it out, and I would like to share with those of you who have clicked to watch this interview what I learned about Rick that day. And many of us see him on stage, and we see his talents, we see him play the guitar, and few of us really get a chance to have conversations with him and get to know what an intelligent person he is, what a person of steadfast conviction he is. And I'd like to share that with you. So I thank you for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy.
It's my distinct honor and privilege to have one of the most loved and respected guitar players in town, Mr. Rick Greenlee.
Hey, everybody.
And we're coming right off this is the very next day after a really great two-lane blacktop gig at Kimmy's. Lots of people in the house, lots of, I think some of the greatest musicians in town came out last night. It was good to see.
Yeah, there would have been some bands able to be assembled there last night.
Yeah. That's one of
some great bands.
I think that's my favorite thing about...
You were there, Jimmy Cat was there, Dwayne Miller. I mean, let's drop some names, you know.
Yeah.
It was...
Ken Ronk.
It
Rich
was
Charlton.
so cool.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Tina
Real
Bailey.
Strong guitar players and singers, and Steve Salvatore.
Yeah, it was really great.
Really awesome. Thanks, everyone.
Indeed. So, Rick, I am chomping at the bit to know, when and where did your relationship begin with the guitar?
Well, I would have to say that requires that I disclose dates, wouldn't it?
That's the history.
I think when the Beatles went on Ed Sullivan.
Yeah. You know, for so many people, that is the answer.
63, 64.
Yeah.
It was one of those 2 years. And when I was a little boy, my parents were dance instructors. So they're in the entertainment world of a kind. My sister's an actress. I've got a famous relative. I may as well get that out of the way right now. Well, who is it? Everybody's going to think for the next hour. Okay, or is he going to say who it is or not? All right. So, for those that are familiar with 70s television, there was a series called the ABC Mystery Movie, and it rotated between McMillan and Wife, Columbo, and McLeod, these three shows. Well, McLeod was played by a guy named Dennis Weaver, and that's my mom's brother. So I have that side of the business in the family. Let me say that again because it went by kind of quick. My uncle is Dennis Weaver, a television actor. He did Gunsmoke, McLeod, okay, so all that kind of stuff. So I think it's in the DNA a little bit. I think it's in the blood with the parents. And as I said, my sibling, Kathy, she was a very, very artistic as a young lady. Lots of music around the house all the time.
Yeah.
Constantly. When I was a little boy, it was Elvis, and I guess my parents listened to Perry Como and Patti Page and Doris Day until Elvis hit. And then once Elvis hit, it was, it was off to the races for everybody.
Yeah.
Elvis and the Beatles, obviously.
Now, this is California?
Northern California, yeah. I was born in Louisiana, but I'm grateful that my parents moved away from Louisiana to Northern California, and Louisiana's no place you want to grow up, from what I understand. And Northern California, East Bay, which is Fremont, Hayward, Oakland, San Leandro, that area over there. Oakland Coliseum is over there. It's the East Bay. You go across the Bay Bridge, and there you are in San Francisco. So a wonderful place to grow up as a kid in the 60s. You know, very cultured, very exciting. There was a hard rock scene burgeoning in the 70s in the East Bay, and there were bands like Yesterday and Today, and which shortened their name to Y&T. But they were our heroes. They were everybody's heroes. And Dave Meniketti. Hey, Dave. Everybody wanted to be like Dave Meniketti.
Probably still.
You know, and we had, what else did we have? We had Tower of Power rehearsing in a garage down the street from the house, you know, before they were anybody.
Yeah.
First concert I ever saw was Tower of Power.
Oh, wow.
Free show out in the park in
Wow.
Fremont, California. And then the second show I saw was an actual indoor full-on rock show with a band called Montrose, and this was the precursor to Van Halen. This is a front man with blonde curly hair and a hot guitar player and bass and drums, and so it cut the cloth. You know, it was a template, kind of like the Who. Curly blonde-haired guy, wild guitar player, you know, aggressive music. Maybe the Who started all of that stuff, but when I saw Montrose, it changed my life.
Yeah,
changed everything.
So were you already playing at this point, or is this when you decided?
I was playing for about 3 years and playing simpler kind of things. You know.
Did you find? Did it come quick to you, the guitar? I mean, was it just like, hey, I'm made for this? Or did you find it challenging?
No, it was hard, and it still is.
Yeah.
I recommend it, and nobody else get into it ever.
I don't think anybody's going to take that advice.
This is the end of the MI. Nobody knows what MI is. Musical instrument industry starting today. No more guitars. So that's it.
Everything's sampled at this point. You can just hit it all in a key, right?
Yeah. No, guitar's been in my life and in my blood for the entire. I can't imagine life without it. I can't remember life without it, really.
Yeah.
I can't remember. I moved into a neighborhood where there was a couple of friends in a garage. One of them played rhythm guitar, the other played drums. So they had no lead singer, they had no bass player, they had no lead guitar player. Just strum on the rhythm guitar and drums. So I'm like, well, that's a band of sorts. They at least have a rhythmic, you know, they're playing a song. It sounds like a song to me. It was Proud Mary or something. And so being the new kid in the neighborhood right across the street, I decided to sit out in the garage and learn all their tunes by opening the garage door and just listening to them across the street. So I learned all the Creedence Clearwater and Grand Funk Railroad and Black Sabbath songs that they knew. And as soon as I discovered that you got to there's something missing, you know, you can't just D chord, D, left a good job in the city, which is great unless you don't have lyrics, unless you don't have the words, you don't even know where you're at in the song. So I went over there and made friends with them, and somehow ended up with a guitar and somehow ended up learning to play solos by desire.
Yeah.
It was a desire. You know, the situation put me there. It really did.
Yeah.
I'm like, here's a need.
Yeah.
I don't know anything. I don't even know what lead guitar means. I'm not I don't have the slightest clue about what it means to assemble a band together and assign people parts and do any of that stuff and choose songs, write songs. So I'm like, I'll just go over there and say hi, you know, and we hit it off. We were best friends, and it was a fun little band, and it's got to start somewhere.
For everybody, yeah.
Yeah.
When you started playing, did you jump into taking lessons, or did you kind of go with the flow, self-taught, learn the box?
Oh, well, that's a good question. When my parents bought me my first real guitar, which was a 72 Fender Telecaster thin line with a Stratocaster neck, used. You don't buy new Telecasters with Stratocaster necks.
Yeah, you get a used one with Mojo.
I got a used one, which was a brilliant guitar. It was a wonderful professional instrument. And I started getting better, being in better bands from that. What I didn't know anything about was amplification. I had no idea how to get a good amp. What made an amp sound good, what made an amp sound crappy. So I made a huge mistake. In fact, Dennis gave me some money. I called him up. I said, hey, I think I might do something with this guitar. Can you help me? He said, sure. What do you need? I said, I need some money for an amp. He's like, sure. Sends me some money, and I bought this terrible amplifier. Terrible.
Just spending all the money all in one shot on it.
Spend it all. It was only $400. I spent it on a combo amp, which in the early '70s, that's some change, you know. It's 100 watts with 410s, made by a company called Acoustic, and solid state, no master volume, just sounded like I may as well have played pedal steel or jazz, because this amp would not rock. It would not, in spite of my best efforts. And then I discovered things like fuzz boxes. And I'm like, oh, what's that? You know, because Grand Funk Railroad, bands like that, there was Mark Farner had a fuzz box built into his guitar. He had a switch right there on the guitar. It just turned it on, and clean as a whistle jazz tone to fuzzy solo, and it took me forever to figure out how he was doing that, but it was a circuit built into the guitar. So I bought this little tiny box and plugged it into the guitar, and it gave me the rock tone. As soon as I got the rock tone, it was my faith was reinstilled.
Whole new world.
Yeah, here we go. You know, okay, now it's Led Zeppelin and Deep Purple and Black Sabbath.
Yeah.
You know,
are you one of these guitar players who is always chasing the holy grail of tone, or did you
all
find
the time.
it pretty quick?
All the time. I'm a gear hound. I own probably 40 stomp boxes. I've used up to 15 or more of them at once at shows. So yeah, flavors.
Yeah. What do you think of these new simpler ways, these new kind of all-in-one?
I'm looking at them.
Yeah.
I'm looking at them. You'd be foolish not to. I mean, we'll talk about what I'm doing now and what's entailed in being in that situation, and as it relates to gear and touring and things like that. But lighter and simpler and faster is better. All of the things being equal. So if you can get away from a back line, and for those of you that may not know what a back line is, that's like the drum kit and the bass amp and the guitar amp, all the stuff you look at that's behind the musicians on stage. If you can get away from that, you just see the players up there. There's a guitar player, there's a bass player, there's a drummer, but where's all the amps? Where's all the stuff? Well, they don't use that. They go direct into the PA with whatever processors they have, and it's the setup and teardown of gear like that is instant. Instant.
Yeah, 5 minutes.
Instant. And it's 8 pounds. It weighs as much as a guitar.
How does it compare in tone?
Absolutely comparable. I'm going to get burned at the stake. All the other guitar players are going to show up at my house with flaming torches for sure this evening. But in my experience, there's things you have to consider in terms of optimal versus usable and practical. And optimal being 2 Marshall half stacks and a 3-foot wide pedal board, and you got 2 guys, 2 techs. One keeps everything working, the other one restrings your guitars and puts necks back on when you break them off and things like that. If you don't have any of that stuff, you're really... You do well to look at one of those little processors. You're hauling your own gear, you're setting it up and tearing it down every night. Who would want to set up 2 Marshall stacks and a friggin' pedal board? I mean, I did it for years. I still own all that stuff. I stripped my pedal board. It's in storage right now, but it's but I still have it. It's huge. It has a handle on one end and wheels on the other, and it's in a flight case.
Wow.
For my pedals. So, I have all the pedals. I use 4 or 5 of them now instead of 15 or 16. And the replication of some of our favorite sounds is pretty spot on. And in fact, if you're in the audience and you're there for a show, like let's say you're going to see a Queen tribute, or you're going to see 70s singer-songwriter, or maybe you're going to see the Bee Gees, or maybe who knows what you're going to see. Well, wait a second. How many of these tributes are you in personally? Because you can move around a little bit. I think you know a little bit about this.
Yes.
And so that, even more to my point, you get more work and you need more varied sounds, and that's the answer. That little box is the answer, unless it fails.
Yeah.
If it fails, you're dead in the water.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing with most new digital technology these days.
You're
It's
dead.
a lifesaver, but when it goes down, the whole show comes to a grinding halt. Yeah.
That's exactly right. I mean, I like the foolproofness of analog pedals. I like, I like it to akin to a toaster. You put a piece of bread in there and you press it down and it toasts.
Mhm.
That's all.
It gets warm.
That's all I want it to do.
Yeah. Do you ever get confused with all these pedals, though, when you're using this?
Do I ever get confused?
I mean, because it is when you're
Every
concentrating.
day.
Yeah.
Every day I get more confused.
Yeah.
I don't remember what that song is.
It's a lot to work with. I mean, you almost have to have a dancing background to be able to tap on all those pedals.
Yeah, and on songs, okay, so I'll tell you, I'm in a cover band called One of These Nights. It's a tribute to the music of the Eagles, and we do nothing but Eagles tunes. It's very, very successful. And we'll throw in some Don Henley and Joe Walsh tunes, of course, because that's what they do when they tour. So why wouldn't you? They're big hits, and we like to play them. With the Eagles band, it's down to I play a lot of Don Felder parts. I play a lot of the Joe Walsh parts. I do all of the slide work because I'm the guy that plays slide in the band. And so how many tones do you need to be in an Eagles band? Let's look at this because it's a good question. There's you think about, Felder, God, that guy's a great guitar player. What an amazing tone he has. Which tone are you talking about? Because if you go record to record, song to song, so many different sounds, so many different tones. One of my favorite things to play right now live, and the most difficult, and maybe that's why it's one of my favorites, is the solo from One of These Nights. Incredibly well thought out, orchestrated, choreographed, if you will, note selection, and it's just astounding. And his sound is thick and fuzzed out, and it doesn't sound like Don Felder at all. I'm like, you mean that? See, that wouldn't work on Life in the Fast Lane. That would not work on New Kid in Town. It would sound terrible on I Can't Tell You Why. You can only use the fuzzed out One of These Nights sound on One of These Nights, and they figured that out, and Felder was an expert at that. And so to match the sound to the story, which is really all songs are, and to not get in the way, let the storyteller tell the story, which is the singer, of course, and create what they create in books. Where as you go through a book, you visualize, you get all these visuals of towns and people and relationships and everything, and you're thinking the same thing when you listen to a song. And the parts and the sounds on the record support that, and you have a hit. If the sounds and the approach and the arrangement don't support that, you don't have a hit. I mean, that, in my mind, that's the difference between a song that gets played hundreds of thousands of times and one that doesn't. And when you look at all the Beatles arrangements, and I mean, I'm not a music writing snob. It's not about Lennon and McCartney or nobody, or Roger Waters or Glenn Frey and Don Henley. It's great songwriters, right? But a lot of people really don't care for that stuff all that much. It's not for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's an
no,
isolated pocket.
the joke, the Big Lebowski.
Yeah, I hate
Right?
the
I hate the
Eagles.
fucking Eagles.
I swear.
You know, I mean,
Yeah.
it turned into a joke. It was so, I mean,
Yeah.
so anyway, but I don't personally hate the Eagles. I enjoy playing their music. I'm thrilled to be involved with an organization called TAD, which is Terry Ann Davies Management, and they're in Anthem.
Yeah.
And they have like 1 billion tribute bands.
Yeah.
And cruise ships. They own the Southwest and cruise ships. They've got that sewn up.
Wow.
So the outside markets, we're getting into those as well. We're playing in Pennsylvania. We're playing in New Mexico. We're playing in Florida and Texas and California and Nevada, and we're getting out there. Canada. But it's not a true touring band where all of a sudden a fax comes and here's your tour itinerary.
Right.
And look at these dates in this order.
Yeah. So how is it then instead? What's the
We get an
difference?
email,
Uh-huh.
everybody saying, be at this venue at this time for load-in.
Oh. So now this is where you talk about backline though, right? Because surely you can't travel with all your
Still
stuff.
talking about backline,
Well,
yeah.
so what happens? Everyone in the band just kind of packs their guitar, or
We do, and there's 3 electric guitar players, and we're all down to combo amps. Nobody uses a 412 cabinet and a head. That's just, I was the last guy to do that, and they were looking at me like, you'll get over that soon enough. Sure enough. So that's in retirement.
yeah. Do they have those waiting for you when you arrive?
Locally, no. On fly dates, yes.
Okay.
But again, here's something that illustrates how cool those little boxes are. You set up all your tones, all your patches, and you put them in order, and you just make them match up to the set list and whatever. All you got to do is step through the presets to do your night.
Yeah.
You get a backline amp, you don't know what you're going to get, and so it's even more important that this little box in front of you does what it's supposed to do.
Right.
Because really, all that amp behind you is so you can hear a guitar sound.
Yeah.
You know, it's a default clean guitar tone, and everything else is done up front. And so that when you get to a fly date, and the amp weighs 7 pounds, and it's just a little $99 practice thing, and you're like really thankful that you went through all the trouble to set up this thing ahead of time, because you're not going to sound like one of these nights.
Yeah.
You're not going to sound like whatever tribute band you're in with that amp.
Right.
You know, I don't know what you guys are thinking, the backline supplying company or whatever, but I can't use that.
Yeah.
You know, why? It's a guitar amp. It's a guitar amp.
Yeah.
We just rented it from Sam Ash or whatever.
That's crazy. I didn't know how that was went. You know.
No,
if
it's
they would
nutty.
rent 'em or what
It's
they would
wild.
do, but-
It's wild. I don't mind any of that stuff. I haven't gone with one of those boxes. I still have discrete pedals because I change them. And it's a hobby of sorts. So it's kind of a boring hobby. What do? I collect little boxes with knobs and
tweak them.
put batteries in them, and they're about as big as a deck of cards. Isn't that fascinating?
Yeah.
No. There's a girl at a bar. Hey, you want to come over and see my stump boxes? No.
It doesn't work. Doesn't work. That's funny.
Not only no, but hell no.
Are you a guitar collector as well?
I am.
Yeah. How many would you say you have at the moment then? Or really, let me ask, how many are you using on a regular, and how many are sitting in cases?
The real story.
Yes.
I have a Gibson Les Paul that's my main guitar. Her name is Marilyn. I named her that because she's curvy and classic, just like her namesake. And she does all the heavy lifting. If I break a string, I'll put that guitar down and grab another one. That's the way I roll. That guitar does it all night long. There's a function that I don't want to get too technical or tweaky or deep or anything, but there's this function on the guitar where you pull one of the tone knobs and it goes click, and it turns it into a different sound, like thinner and treblier, and it's called a coil tap switch, and it makes it sound more like a less like a Les Paul and more like a Telecaster or a Stratocaster. So that it gives me more versatility.
Is that something you have to have installed? Or is
Yeah.
that okay.
Yeah. Well, no, it's not always, because I have a backup guitar that already has it in there from the factory.
Okay.
I had to have this one done because this particular model of Les Paul didn't offer it. So I took the pickup out, put another pickup in. This pickup had this pull switch on it, and I use it all the time.
Okay.
I play slide in standard tuning. For you slide guys out there, there's when Joe Walsh plays slide in the Eagles, he gets handed a guitar. A roadie hands him a guitar tech hands him a guitar that is tuned and set up to play slide. So good. It's nice to be Joe.
So when you say setup, it's what? It's got a higher action and open chord.
Yeah,
usually?
the strings are farther away from the frets.
Okay.
So you don't actually accidentally bump the fret, because when you're playing slide, you don't touch the frets at all. You just glide the slide over the strings and get the notes that way. And the tuning is such that if you don't even put your hands on the guitar and you play all the strings, it plays this beautiful open chord. So all you have to do is use one finger and go up and down the neck, and you've got that same chord, which for slide is perfect. But I don't have that benefit because I have to use that same guitar.
Because you're jumping back and forth, right? Solo to the...
Oh, yeah. Like on Rocky Mountain Way, we do this Joe Walsh tune, Rocky Mountain Way, and the other guitar player in the band does the talk box parts, which is that, that thing. He does that. But I do the slide parts. The slide's very distinctive, and when it's over, I have to go back into something that requires a normal standard setup guitar instantly.
How do you get that thing off your finger in time?
I take my right hand and then I pull it off of my left hand and I put it on a little stand that's
So
on
you
my...
have time. You have kind of time before... Oh, it goes that quick.
It's quick.
Yeah.
It's quick. And I've dropped... I used to use glass slides, but to your point, being in a hurry and hustling and trying to get into the next whatever's going on, I've dropped them many times on hardwood stages. It's like a Pyrex cylinder, and they just shatter into a million pieces. So now I've gone to chrome because it might go rolling away from me across the stage towards some dark corner that I will never find it, but at least it's not broken.
Right.
So anyway, that chrome slide, Gibson Les Paul, a small combo amp and some pedals, and I'm in a 70s singer-songwriter project called Rock Me Gently, which is Gordon Lightfoot, James Taylor, Carole King, all the things.
That's a Tad show, too.
That's a Tad show. All the people you would expect.
Yeah.
And I think you have some knowledge of that, some experience even.
A brief stint in it.
Yes, and so I play acoustic guitar for a set of Jim Croce tunes. And that's sitting on a stool with an acoustic guitar. You better know how to play.
First time I even heard your name, J.D. Madrid said, "You got to see this guy I'm playing with when he plays the Jim Croce." That was it. That was the very first time your name came up for me.
JD's very, very impressed with that, I guess.
Yeah.
But there's songs like "Time in a Bottle" and "Operator" and "Have to Say I Love You" in a song. These guitar parts are beautiful and well constructed and difficult.
Yeah.
And so to sit up there with JD, he's on a stool, I'm on a stool, the rest of the band goes away. And we're just up there absolutely stripped
might as well
down,
be naked. Yeah.
with bad guys aiming fire hoses at us.
And tomatoes.
Fire hoses full of tomatoes.
Yeah.
So we just get through those 3 songs and we're doing good. Yeah, that's the sweat.
And
for
they come
me.
right in a row. It's like a mini spotlight.
Yeah, and then I bring Carole King on after that, and we have a young lady. She's 24. She's a professional entertainer. She sings all over the world. Cruise ship lady.
Is it still Kayla?
Kayla.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, she's turned into like really something.
Good for her.
And so yeah, we Rock Me Gently started out 5 years ago, and Kayla was 19, right out of high school.
What's her last name? Kenyer?
Kenyer.
Yeah.
What a little kid, you know, and I was kind of enamored with her. I sort of like thought she was all right. Good for 19, right out of house. But in the last 5 years, traveling the world and being in the professional TAD organization has done a lot for her maturity and her ability quickly. So, I mean, what a great benefit to have a young lady like that be in that position.
Yeah.
You know, and have somebody provide these experiences and tools for her. Oh, it's just so wonderful.
Yeah.
So Kayla will be coming back into the Rock Me Gently camp, which I'm very excited about.
Right on. You guys have stuff coming up too, right?
We do. We have the 13th and the 14th. We're playing a couple of dates. It doesn't matter where because they're not open to the public. So here, write this down, and then and then you're not able to get in.
I don't think I'm going to be aired in that time for that anyway.
Yeah.
So, but they're usually out of town, right? They do a lot of retirement communities, and then they sell out within.
Well, the
these
thing about
communities.
TAD is that the RV parks and golf resorts are their bread and butter. Those two things, those two places, retirement communities, RV parks, golf resorts. That's where we play more shows than everything else combined.
Yeah, it's always such an appreciative audience too.
Always, and people are with Eagles. It's the demographic of if you're 20 years old, you might know an Eagles song. If you're 80, you might know an Eagles song. You know, so we play retirement communities, sure, but you got to remember, 55. How old is 55?
Yeah.
When you think about
We're
Aerosmith,
almost there, right?
Aerosmith and Led Zeppelin and the Stones and Billy Joel and these legacy bands, all these guys are 70, 75. So to play for an audience of 55 to 80, these people aren't gone.
Yeah.
55 is not old.
Yeah, it hit me the other day. You know, I'm a child of the 80s, and I realized the 80s are 40 years ago.
Right.
You know?
Right. I'm a 70s guy because I was born in 57. So 13 to 23, when I was 13, it was 1970. When I was 23, it was 1970, and it was 1980. So you can imagine being from 13 to 22, 23 years old, how formative that is for you, of course.
Yeah.
Girls and rock and roll and all the things that kind of shape you in adolescence and in high school and maturity and puberty and all that stuff is happening in the 70s. Holy cow.
Yeah, height of the sexual revolution.
Yeah. And I had 4 sisters that were all too happy to make sure I knew what was going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just, you know, playing in high school bands and being in music, getting back to what it's like to be in music. I mean, you try to find people in high school. You go to school, that guy plays drums. Maybe it's a brand new school year, and you meet this kid, we'll call him Carrie, and he plays drums. And he's really cool, and you start hanging out, and maybe you go over to his house, and there's his drums set up in his bedroom. And then you find bass player, which is always hard. We found a rich kid bass player. So he had a Rick 5000. He had a Rick 4001.
Wow.
And a 7-foot tall PV bass amp.
Wow. And the tone of those Rickenbackers.
We loved this dude.
Yeah, I bet.
His parents bought it for him.
But just because he had it, could he play it?
Played it as well as we did.
That's where it all begins, right?
Which is like questionable,
Yeah.
a 5 or a 6 on a 10 scale.
Yeah, yeah.
And but we were already playing gigs. I was playing for a living in 1977.
By then, yeah.
There's a Northern California area called the Sacramento Delta, which of course Sacramento is the nation's capital. But people don't realize that up there's all these levees and sloughs and waterways, and it's a resort area. So I spent a summer up there at 20 years old. Shouldn't even been playing really, but 20 years old, playing all of those bars, all of the little fried fish joints along the waterways, and here comes these expensive boats, and millionaires would get out and start throwing money at everybody and buying drinks for everybody. They loved everyone, and all the music that was playing. Nobody cared if you were good. They cared if you were terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, but they didn't care if you were like fantastic. And we were always like kind of mediocre. We were good. We were competent, competent lounge band. No drummer. Our drummer built his own drum machine from parts.
Using those old samples.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's what we sounded like on drums. Phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's a great time of life. I mean, and to have those things, to have that happen that particular summer, I figured, okay, well, I'm a pro now. This is what I do for work. Well, until I discovered that the waterways literally dry up, and there's like no boats, there's no money, there's no tourists. Oh, that was the summer. Oh no, everybody bolts their doors shut during the winter. There's nothing going on up here. Now what are you going to do?
Yeah.
So
what did you do?
moved back to the Bay Area proper.
Yeah.
Started selling electronics.
That's right, 'cause I know I've seen some installations. You've done some pictures of some.
I've done some crazy stuff. Yeah, the electronics is something that my father was a huge hobbyist. Home stereo equipment. He was around when quad, the 4-channel. You buy a needle for your record player that decodes 4 channels of audio and spins it around the room, kind of like Dark Side of the Moon, whatever those guys did.
Yeah.
When they did it live, they had a panner that would go left and right and rear and all this stuff. My dad had all that stuff in a music room.
Wow, that would have been fun to play with.
Oh yeah, I was completely enthralled and hypnotized by the whole thing. So in '78, I started selling home stereo equipment. And then by the mid-'80s, I was selling high-end home stereo equipment, like weird home stereo gear that people normally don't see, handmade amps and 7-foot-tall gold ribbon tweeter speakers and turntables that are run on air pumps. And, I mean, it's just wild audio equipment.
How did that sound compared to what's coming out now? How would you say?
Well, I'd say it would sound about 1,000,000 times better. We had consumer equipment. I mean, you could buy an Onkyo receiver. You could walk into the store and buy an Onkyo receiver and a CD player and a pair of speakers, and you have audio in your house. Sure, we'd do that. It's less than $1,000. It's all in, and it takes nothing to hook it up. But where our passion was this tweaky, wacky stuff. Maybe the manufacturer would last a year.
Yeah.
Or maybe they would go on to become like an amazing icon of the audio business. And they were like super successful, and they sold handmade equipment. And believe it or not, I don't know if we've talked about tubes or not, but tubes are kind of a given in a guitar amp situation. I mean, guitar players like their tubes. They like the little glass bottles that glow when you look in the back of a piece of equipment and there's something glowing orange and purple back there. That's a tube, by the way. And tubes obviously have limited more and more and more and more of their usefulness over the years because you got solid state, you got transistors.
Well, they give a warmth, right?
Well, it's a funny thing because the way the mind works, we associate warmth because of the tube kind of looks like a fireplace when it's glowing.
Yeah.
It looks like warmth.
So
and our eyes tell us what to believe.
Okay.
And so when you see a warm, glowing orange and purple tube, it looks warm. And it is. You touch it, and it's hot.
Yeah.
So you got all these heat and warmth affirmations around this thing because of the way it operates and the way it looks.
Okay.
And so people associate that with audio.
Okay.
It's not the case at all. Warmth is like, really, turn your treble knob down a little. Turn your bass knob up a little. Does that sound warmer?
Yeah.
Oh, it really does.
Yeah.
Did you add any tubes to your equipment? No, I didn't. Well,
Yeah. That's a great point. That's a great point. But what about a tube then? It's that it helps kind of push the edge towards distortion?
well, it's the way it distorts. There's, and this, I don't want to get into scientific stuff because it's,
Well, you could help somebody build their rig.
it's kind of a light, and have many times.
Yeah.
But there's these things in music called harmonics, and if you play a note on a guitar, let's play a note on a guitar, any note. For you guitar players out there, play an open G, just boom. Okay, now find a harmonic on that same string that you can just tap with your finger and hit that note, and it's maybe goes ping an octave up. It sounds like the same string, but it's way higher. It's a harmonic of the note. It's not the note itself. Well, tubes amplify harmonics differently than transistors do. Tubes have a character around what's called even order harmonics, and that's as deep as I'm going to get. I'm not going to go past that
You'll
at
start
all.
a new cult around the science.
I'm telling you, man. I heard this dude on his podcast, and I've got all new stereo equipment. You got to come over here. How much did you spend? $12,000.
Yeah.
So anyway, tubes have a way of amplifying that is pleasing to our ear.
Yeah.
The human ear likes to hear certain things because of evolution, even order harmonics, pleasant sounds. We all know a good sound when we hear it. We all know a nice, pleasing sound. We know a harsh, dissonant sound. We know that. It's like it's ingrained.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when you hear a tube amplify a musical signal, it's not as obvious as fingernails on a chalkboard versus wind chimes. You know, I mean, it's not like beautiful versus blah.
Yeah.
It's subtle. It's very subtle. The even order harmonics that the tube likes to amplify are pleasing to us psychologically, subconsciously. They make us feel better. And if that's warmth, okay, I'll take that. I'll take that as warmth. Sure. This is all other things being equal. This is like you have two incredibly good audio circuits. One of them is solid state. One of them is tube. They're both very well designed by people that know what they're doing. And which sounds better? Well, some people would say the tube gear sounds better because of everything I just said. Other people would say, I don't really hear a difference.
Yeah. I'm sure at some point it's got to be hard to hear.
I don't really hear a difference.
Yeah.
Well, there is, at some point, there is really difficult telling the difference. And it's more and more and more and more money. See, you have an exponential rate of spend versus return.
Most people I know in the music business don't understand that fact. Yeah. Let me ask you this. Maybe you can help settle the debate once and for all then, because I know a lot of people still rolling their amps around, and some people are like, hey, I'm not going to use the
I
thing.
am.
So let's say some people are like, hey, man, I've got to have that tube. Obviously, when they're sampling these sounds for these emulators, right? They're taking real tubes, they're pushing that sound, and they're capturing. How well do you think that translates over?
I think that they're doing a phenomenal job.
Yeah.
There are marketing terms, tubescence and things like that, where they actually create a word. Oh, tubescence, that sounds good. It's kind of like tube shampoo or something. So let's make it smell good. Can we make a tube smell good? So it's so important to get that tube sound, that warmth, that naturalness, that analog, even order harmonic distortion, all the stuff that tubes are absolutely beautifully competent at. So to model all of that stuff and put it into chips and circuitry that you can carry around or put it in software in a laptop, I think it's a mature industry. I have some software at home right now in my laptop that's brand new that was given to me by the VP of sales of this company that I used to work with at a different company. Thank you for that. And it's a guitar amp simulator in laptop software, and it is astonishing.
Yeah.
Like silly.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah.
It's so good.
What's the name of the emulator?
The company is called Positive Grid,
Oh, yes.
and their product is called Bias.
Okay.
And they have two different flagship products. Bias Effects has complete amplifiers, complete stomp boxes that are all drag and drop, mix and match, and it's just it's ridiculous.
Yeah, these things are great for recording. I mean, you just go direct.
I got to tell you, I think that it's just the same thing as like a Line 6 Helix.
Okay.
Except it's except you have to load the software yourself. You don't have to do that in a Helix. The Helix has already got the software in it when you open it.
Yeah.
But really, a Helix is a laptop with really good emulator software in it. When it comes down to it, it's a signal processing device, computer-based, absolutely computer-based. Well, so is your computer. You had a computer there. All the heavy lifting, all the horsepower is done by the CPU and the RAM and all the stuff that the computer already possesses.
Yeah.
Why not just put software in there to do the rest?
Yeah, and then you can constantly update it, constantly upgrade it.
Which is good and bad.
Yeah. Yeah, because if you need an update and you haven't done it and you're on the show and you lock up.
Right.
Yeah. That's
my
drag.
life is software updates.
Yeah, and you need Wi-Fi to update.
I haven't written a song in 2 months.
Yeah, yeah.
But all my software's up to date.
Yeah, it can quickly become a nightmare, what do you do? You're traveling with a laptop in this situation like this, and then you just use an audio interface?
Exactly right. And the audio interface can be one input and one output with a USB connector on it and good drivers, and you're done. And this is something you can haul around to hotel rooms. And
how do you trigger your changes? Do you program them? Do you
I
hit
don't
just
trigger
a key?
changes.
You wouldn't need to. Okay.
This is songwriting scratch pad.
Okay, so this is get it done at home. This is what you're doing right now.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Are you writing?
I am. And people have asked me, Jimmy Cat and some people have asked me, what am I going to do for a record?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's in the works.
Yeah, right on.
It's about time. I'm old. I'm 62 years old.
Do you have any other previous records?
In case all the Beatles references and stuff didn't quite sink in, and all the 70s stuff. I don't have any albums. There's another thing, vinyl versus like wave files.
That's a big argument.
It's like tubes versus transistors.
Yeah.
Can you absolutely double blind reliably tell that you're listening to a record and not an MP3?
If you can hear the static of the needle.
I don't, yeah, but if you record that and make that part of the MP3.
Yeah, it's amazing. Our ears really aren't as detailed as I think some of the...
They're not as good as, they're really good because they've evolved to survive.
Yeah.
We don't want to get eaten by saber-toothed tigers and things like that and beat up by our rivals. And so our hearing has adapted to fight or flight and survival.
Yeah.
So most of our apparatus in terms of senses is evolved from that. And hearing hearing now is like more geared toward the human voice, I think, than ever before.
It's like a narrower bandwidth, I think, that we're tuned to hear.
Yeah, because, I mean, we're listening to people, we're listening to people less and less, which is great that you're doing this. We're right here. Here's the voices. You're hearing the speak, for better or for worse. But this is going away. I mean, I like the idea that it's not going away, because there are people like you who are setting up these systems in their homes, and and you can afford it. I mean, I don't know how much this rig would have cost 15 years ago.
Oh, I couldn't have done it. There's no way. There's no way.
How about 10 years ago?
Yeah, even then.
See?
Yeah.
It's just like computers or anything else. It's cheaper, faster, better, higher res, better.
Yeah, and it's a great time to be creative.
This is fantastic. You know, you use things like this microphone I'm speaking into, which is the same microphone Michael Jackson recorded the vocals on Thriller
You
with,
damn
by
straight.
the way. Nick of Time, Bonnie Raitt, all the vocals on that record.
Lots of metal vocals on this. But
Lots of metal vocals. So yeah, EV SM7.
Yeah.
In any case, the vocal sound, listening to people speaking back and forth, and not being on social media all the time. Like, I don't talk on the phone anymore. I noticed that.
Yeah, there's a little more texting, right?
All texting.
Yeah.
And I'm good at texting.
Yeah.
I'm a good writer, and I think. So when I put something into a text and off it goes, it's spelled correctly and thought out. You know, and texting and things like that give you time to do that.
Yeah.
Emails. What are we doing right now? What's it called? Freewheeling. Stream of consciousness has its own aesthetic. It has its own beauty.
Yeah.
You can't think of, you can't sit there and think to death of how that sentence structure is going to be when you hit send.
Yeah.
So this is interesting. It's fun to do.
Isn't it fun?
It's really fun.
Yeah, I've been doing this all week, man. I've had 2 Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, today.
This is super cool.
Yeah, you have to fire faster, and plus, we lose some of these like subtle interactions that we've evolved with too, to recognize expressions in another person's face as we speak, understand what they're saying. On that
Absolutely
level.
right. I think that we need to experience a kind of a re-revelation in human interaction because we've edited so much of it out with social media, and we've made it so open to misinterpretation. How many fights? How many unfollows? How many I hate you? I don't want to be your friend anymore. Okay, well, I've known you since we were 12 years old. I don't care.
Yeah.
You just said something about Oprah.
Yeah.
And I'm unfollowing you.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
It is bizarre. So music music is another way to get away from that, because it's such a wonderful language, and people that like to play with other people also like to listen to other people. I noticed that with people in town that are better, or somehow they're more successful in terms of being able to play with other people. They listen to other people. I mean, if you're on stage and you got a duo going, then that's a big responsibility, because the other person, what are they doing? What airspaces are they filling at any given moment that you don't need to fill, and vice versa? So you have all these gaps and these openings and these counterpoint things that the two guys do together that they could not do by themselves, and they could not do if they weren't listening to the other guy.
Yeah, and it becomes a conversation in itself.
Totally.
Yeah.
And if you don't do that, you're just sitting there jamming alone.
Yeah.
You're strumming rhythm guitar. You're wasting your time.
I love watching, like, there are some really successful 2-guitar outfits, you know, and I'm sure everybody has their favorites, but I love the ones that really punctuate one another, you know? It's like like you're saying, they've found that structure where one person will drop in, but they also will, while that guy's delivering a phrase, wham, you know, will just punctuate within between.
Absolutely.
Dot at the end of the sentence, you know.
Absolutely. Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young were really experts at that. The Eagles are experts at that.
Mm-hmm.
The Beatles. When you think about break it down into a duo, Simon and Garfunkel, how good were they on acoustic guitars?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, really.
Did Garfunkel play?
Really freaking good. I don't know. I think it was Paul doubling his own parts.
Probably.
But for the same effect.
Right, exactly.
You know?
Gilmore does that to the same effect. Here he is just composing these
What can I do that
structures.
complements that?
Right.
You know, that won't step on it. The tone sounds good with it. And I won't hate it in a month. I won't want to just mute it.
Yeah.
You know, these guys, Gilmore is, I mean, we could talk about guitar playing influences, but that's Gilmore would be in the top 5.
Oh, wow.
Top 5. He wasn't always, because when I was a little kid and listening to Jimmy Page and Richie Blackmore and Carlos Santana, and you'd think, wow, some hard rock stuff going on in there. What's his name? Mark Farner from Grand Funk. But then there was also John Fogerty. It's like, how does that fit in?
Mm-hmm.
And oh, how quaint, John Fogerty. But when you go back and listen to the catalog of Creedence hits,
It's tasty.
and ridiculous,
Yeah.
how good he played.
Yeah.
That guy played to the song, and
Yeah.
that vocal sound
Yeah.
just killed it.
Yeah.
Sing like that.
Kathy, the violin player, she approached me. She said, "Hey, do you want to do Fortunate Son?" And I thought, I froze for a moment. I was like, my God, is that going to be too hard to sing? You know? I mean, it's up there. I mean, the way he's singing, everything was such pristine pitch, but he was pushing.
He's grinding it out.
Yeah.
And other singers are known for that too. Paul McCartney. I mean,
Oh,
there's
yeah.
guys that have these tremendous vocal ranges,
Yeah.
and they don't fall apart.
Yeah.
You know, when it gets up into the higher ranges and they need to get a little grindy, like Bryan Adams or something, no sweat.
Do you sing?
I do.
Yeah, because I mean, in all the opportunities we've had to play together, it's
I do. I'll
usually
be on
these
the.
harmonies.
I'll be on the record.
Now, is that your plan? So, with what you're writing right
I'm
now,
going to sound like Leonard Cohen.
Are you planning to do all the lead vocal? Are you writing?
No, I have no plan for that. What I'm going to do, as the songs get fleshed out,
Mm-hmm.
and particularly when the vocal pieces start making sense, verse, bridge, pre-chorus, chorus, and I can start moving them around,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'll start to hear who the singer should be
I see.
on that song.
Yeah, okay.
I'll hear who that should be,
Okay.
and I'll ask him to sing the
So
song.
is your intent then to have different Valley people in and get this thing kind of done, or are you going to do most of the tracking yourself? Because I know clearly you could probably play bass.
I can play all the parts.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I mean, do I want to, or do I want to have some killer drummer like Dwayne Miller? You know, do I want to have it? You know, and he would do it. Do I want to have how about a female singer? You know,
Mm-hmm.
What if I have female backup singers?
Mhm.
Now what am I going to do?
Mhm.
You know, how do I get that?
Yeah.
Do I know anybody?
Yeah, I think you do.
I think I do.
I think you do.
I think I do too. So it's all about the sound of telling the story.
Yeah.
Whoever can tell that story the best is going to be on the record.
Now, are you thinking this record wants to tell a hierarchical like a hierarchical story, a big complex thing, or is each
like
song individually
like a
story?
concept album
Yeah, I
kind of
mean,
thing?
is the whole thing going to tie together, or is it just each song tells its own piece?
It's going to be not a good reason, but a prominent reason that I have not made a record in the past is because I'm so schizophrenic. I don't know what I like. I do know what I like. I like everything. So, do I want this record to sound like 80s pop, which like talk? Do I want it to sound, and that's the way the record sounds, and it puts it in a certain vibe. Oh, Rick, yeah, he's got that 80s record out. It's kind of cute. I don't know if I wanted people saying that exactly. Or, even though I'd listen to it all day long.
Yeah.
You know, or a guitar blowout, basically. That's like everything I know how to do. So that when people want to hear what my guitar playing's like, they can just put on the album. There's everything I do. I mean everything. You know, boring except for other guitar players, typically. In terms of third listen, fourth listen, fifth listen, you're gonna keep coming back to the Eagles' greatest hits. You're gonna come back to Thriller. I'm not trying to write Thriller. But I am trying to keep it in my mind that why do people want to hear those songs over and over and over and over and over again? You know, oh yeah, I listened to it. Yeah, thanks. I appreciate you giving me the album. I did listen to it. Maybe it was in the background. Maybe it was on a crappy stereo system, and maybe there was distractions, and some of it got heard. But it's just not that important. This truly. It's not important to anybody but me. I'm doing this so that something will be on this earth when I'm gone, which has become a different focus for me of late.
Does it give you a real sense of urgency to get this done?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, yeah.
Yeah.
Time's up.
Yeah. Well, and to us all. And I think that's the thing. I think with most artists, they have a drive to get stuff out there because they want to be like, I was here. This is what I did.
Most people do. I mean, I have friends with 6-7 records out. I've never heard any of them. Doesn't matter. These, you go in a place, you record all your parts, you write these songs, and when you play them back, it sounds fantastic. So it sold 7 copies.
It has its own reward.
So,
yeah,
you did this, and it's here when you're gone.
Yeah,
that's the goal.
Yeah, I think, and that's the most important, I think, way to look at producing any type of art. And expressing. What I like most. It's great to express yourself up on stage. It's great to get up there and
live is
play,
awesome.
Play someone else's song and make other people happy about it and give it your own spin. But there's really something about being like, look, this is what I was feeling, this is what I was thinking, this is what is happening right now, captured in time. What do you think?
I absolutely agree. Hey, Kitty, there's a studio cat.
Yep, she's my little pink Floyd. Black studio cat,
very, very friendly, wants to come over and see what's going on.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: do you have lots and lots of demos? I mean, because I know a lot of people, including myself, we're constantly picking up the phone or some memo recorder, and we've got riffs for days. Do you have a catalog of riffs?
Well, that's a really great question. They're all in my head. I have no discipline and no structure, so I haven't recorded anything.
So, but you're ready to go though. Like you've got riffs in mind.
I've got so many guitar riffs in my mind and vocal lines.
Yeah.
That all I have to do is really it's just. I have a couple of means of almost like notation recorders, kind of like a handheld voice recorder. And just to get it down on that is enough. Like my phone, I just figured out where the voice recorder is on that after how many years. And I had to install it. I thought it was already in there. But if I hit this button, a little icon will come up and it'll start recording whatever comes in the microphone. I'm like, well, that's just perfect because I can sing a line, la 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 la. I can play an acoustic guitar part, or if I have my laptop up with my badass bias software going, I could put a full-on electric guitar part in there, and my phone's microphone will pick it all up and just store it for me instantly without any hoop jumping whatsoever. Which to me, the obstacle is hoop jumping.
Yeah.
If it's too hard, if it's too complicated, if there's too many buttons to push, it's too much work to get your idea down. By the time you have all your stuff turned on, you forgot what the idea was.
Oh yes. But oftentimes you end up with a different idea, But
Which not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah. But you're right. It can be quite complicated,
And how did I play that part exactly? I had it in my head. I just had it in my head a minute ago, and now I can't play it because where's my phone?
Have you thought about like the possibility of like even just having a writing session, like where you could have a bass player or a drummer come over and you guys just rock until you lock into a cool riff?
Well, I always think about stuff like that because I like playing with other people so much. The thing I want to try first is by myself, and if I'm not getting enough inspiration, or I'm not getting enough feedback from myself, where I think that I would benefit from getting that feedback from somebody else, then I'll bring other people in.
Yeah.
But I'm only looking at a dozen songs. I think that's about right. 12 songs on an album, isn't?
Yeah, I mean, in the old days it'd be 8, right?
Yeah. 40 minutes.
Yeah.
So I don't really necessarily have to see. The thing about things like that, is we are our own worst enemy. We're stifled by inertia. I mean, things are at rest tend to stay at rest. So I am at rest and I am watching TV. What's it going to take to disturb this? Let's look at it. How good is the TV show? How good is the song idea in my head? How much energy do I have? Should I make some coffee? Should okay, and by the time I've analyzed all this, I'll wait till the show's over and then I'll get going. Then of course the next show comes. And you're even sunk deeper into the couch.
Oh, yes.
And sleepier. And haven't picked up the acoustic guitar and strummed that chord change into your phone. So as I said, the things that make that, however you can remove the obstacles from capturing the idea, that's the goal. Capture the idea. I don't care if it's humming do re mi into your phone. At least when the TV show's over, you had the cadence, you had the tempo, you had the melody idea, and now you can go and transfer it to guitar or keyboards or whatever.
Yeah.
But get it down. Steve Vai, I learned that from him. He said, "Hey man, always hit the red button." I know exactly everybody knows what that means. Hit the red button. Always.
I've made it my habit. No matter what, every time I pick up the guitar, if something comes, whether I like it at the moment or not, I hit the button, and I've got a huge
You don't know what you're going to get.
Oftentimes the more you play it, the more you're like, okay, now I get it.
This is beautiful. I love this. Okay, I love this. I'm not big on that C chord change. Okay, we'll do something else. But you're getting it done. You're moving forward. And that's the idea. And you don't really have to have the idea of selling lots of records or winning Grammys or anything. I mean, this is not the point, unless it is. If that's the point, okay, good luck with that. I mean, I'm making a record. Why am I making a record? Because I want to win Grammy. I want to win Song of the Year. Record of the Year.
Accolades, right?
This is why you're writing songs. Yes. Song of the Year. Right. Record of the Year. Right. Best New Artist. I want to win all that stuff.
Trophy chasing is kind of it's a weird thing for me, Like for the first time, I found myself like nominated for something, and I didn't know what to do with it. You know what I mean? And then
well, that's fun.
Yeah, it was fun. It was kind of gratifying. And then in the end, when I saw, hey, we didn't win, it was like, boom, okay, right back to business.
It's fun.
I love that record.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
I mean? Yeah, but it's
a friend of mine won Best Blues Artist in Central California, and got his name on a plaque and a picture, and he's in the Blues Hall of Fame and all this stuff, and it was all out of the blue.
Yeah.
Completely unknown to him.
Yeah. No, it wasn't contrived at all. It wasn't his intention.
He didn't even know about it. It's like people nominated him,
Yeah.
and they nominated him for this and that, and then he's got CDs out.
Yeah.
He's a really good, great blues guitar player.
What's his name?
His name is Richie Blue.
Richie Blue. No kidding. There's nothing more perfect than that for the
Richie
blues.
Blue, and he is a ex-alcoholic drug addict with a huge scar up his chest. I mean, he's that guy.
He's the blues
He's
guy.
the man.
Yeah.
Vintage guitars. He plays incredibly well. So yeah, Richie Blue, man, Northern California blues artist. Check him out on YouTube and wherever fine music is sold.
Real quick, while you were mentioning this other guitar player, I think briefly you and I had a conversation about, I think the guitar player's name is Doyle. He plays upside down, left-handed, played with Roger Waters on the tour. Didn't you say you knew him?
I do know him. His name is Doyle Bramall. His dad was a very famous drummer in Austin, Texas.
Okay.
So his dad was the connection when Doyle was a little boy. Stevie Ray Vaughan was Doyle's babysitter.
Well, then that explains it.
Stevie Ray Vaughan gave Doyle a backwards, upside down 50s Stratocaster.
Yeah. Is that the red one?
Signed it on the headstock. Jimmy Vaughan, the Vaughan brothers, Jimmy and who's older than Stevie, Jimmy and Stevie were good friends of Doyle's dad, Doyle Sr. Well, now Doyle Jr. has gone out with Eric Clapton, B.B. King, Sheryl Crow, Roger Waters, and is out with Clapton now, I think.
Oh, is he really?
I think he might be.
He's an insane guitar player.
He's really a great guy. I taught him how to use a drum machine.
Oh, really? Yeah, I saw him on that Roger Waters show, man, and he's playing upside down.
Well, his guitar is just simply flipped over. He's got a right-handed guitar that he just flips over and doesn't restring.
Yeah, see, I don't
so
understand
the strings
how
are
he
backwards.
chords. It makes sense that he can bend notes for days, pulling them up like this.
Pulling them up, right?
Yeah, but it doesn't make sense how he makes complex chords.
It's bizarre.
Yeah, he's crazy good.
Really odd to watch.
He's on the Roger Waters, I think it's the In the Flesh DVD, and the work he does on dogs.
With the turquoise necklace and all this stuff.
Yeah, he's got like the Elvis jumpsuit and stuff.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
He's got so much like presence, But I remember the first time I saw him, I was just like, who the hell is this guy?
He's a good cat. When I met him, he was a skate punk.
No kidding.
He had a skateboard, and he had a spiky dog collar on and thick mascara.
Wow.
Spike hair, eyeliner, spiky dog collar, and a skateboard.
Was he playing music that reflected that look?
No, he was playing 50s blues on a Strat.
That'd be crazy to see.
And he and I would jam at jam night. We go to Sonoma County Blues Society jam night.
Yeah.
And he would just take me apart, which is okay.
Yeah.
He's way younger. At that point, he was probably 17.
Yeah.
And just taking everybody apart.
Yeah, well,
taking all of us to school.
Good. He's so good. That's the crazy thing about him. Here he is, like, touring with all these greats. He's a session artist. I've seen him with Sheryl Crow on TV and all these things.
A brilliant player.
He's every bit the kind of guitar player you would expect to be. He's the guy we're talking about.
Right.
But he's out there with the people we're talking about.
Exactly. And his solo stuff isn't selling. He just hasn't had a hit. He hasn't had a breakthrough song. That it's like you can't get rid of it if you turn the radio on. He hasn't had that yet.
Yeah.
But his sideman stuff is second to none.
Yeah. Well, with him and even with so many people that I know, even just in this valley, it goes to show you that there's a huge difference between being really good and being really famous. They don't generally, or they don't always go hand in hand. In fact, often rarely.
True that. Oh, there we go. That's better.
Yeah, good.
I'm like, this is an SM7. Where's the rest? There it is. Very directional. I forgot.
Yeah, they're heavy.
Well, the people that are successful or semi-successful in the valley. What are we talking about? Keel and Badlands and
Gin Blossoms. Who else?
Meat Puppets.
Meat Puppets.
You know,
Flotsam and Jetsam.
Flots. Who else? Sacred Reich.
Yes.
Refreshments.
But
But between that level and Huge, where is everybody?
yeah, there was no Huge really except for
Well,
Alice
there
Cooper,
is,
but he was
because
from
Alice
LA,
Cooper-
really made out of there.
Stevie Nicks, Dave Mustaine. I mean, Megadeth's as big as it gets in the metal world. You know, they're almost as big as Metallica. They're in the top four. You know, they go and do that top four deal. Megadeth is huge,
Yeah.
right? So
Worldwide.
So you got Mustaine. But yeah, the big guns, and now George Lynch, of course, you know, is the people that, if you go to a NAMM show and you see somebody's image that's 15 feet tall in a booth, that's another kind of, oh, that guy made it, you know. You might find out that his best-selling album sold 1 million copies. Not 10 million, or maybe it sold 700,000. But he's so important in the guitar world
Yeah.
that his image is in this guitar booth 12 feet high.
Yeah. He's
you know?
he's not selling records, he's selling gear.
He's selling gear.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. And so that side of it's fun. I mean, there's people that wonder how to make money in the music industry, and there's like films, there's TV, there's podcasts, there's instructional videos. There's YouTube is a million ways to get anything done. People are like, oh, YouTube is all saturated and there's nothing else to do. Well, that's not true. Otherwise, these new guys wouldn't be coming out every year. Like, who's that? Oh yeah, that's the new YouTube sensation. How'd that happen? Nobody knows.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. He's a guy who goes around with the camera kicking cats.
But he's got 12 million views on every video.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Yeah.
And he's like opening mayonnaise jars or something. And it's like, what is going on here? Yeah. So this kind of thing, media and communication would get back to that. Speaking to people, I mean, it's just sitting down and hanging. You kind of have to make an appointment to do that anymore. People are busy.
Yeah.
You know, oh, let's just get together and have a spot of tea and sit and talk about Aunt Margaret. Well, I have 2:00 Thursday open. You know,
Yeah, it is like that.
it's really complicated.
Yeah.
It's really busy, and it didn't used to be that way before social media. Oh yeah, I'll be right over.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. You want me to bring anything? Yeah, grab some chocolate cookies or something. Okay, I'll bring them right over.
Yeah.
And then Facebook happened.
Yeah.
And then Twitter happened. And then now all that stuff's done online. You have pictures of people's cookies instead of having them sit in front of you and hanging out and talking and eating cookies. You can see them. Or there's a live video or a live event, or there's like everything that you want other people to know can be known in a matter of seconds. And you don't have to call anybody, make appointments, sit down with anybody. It's really something. And music, that doesn't happen with music, because you have to, first of all, just the idea of being able to catch pitch with your voice and apply it to a song structure, just the very act of singing, or being able to play notes on an instrument, play drums. That's great if you do it. If you don't, then why not? You know, there's some bands in town that are trying to make a name for themselves and original music, and I just don't know if they're. I hope everybody gets what they want. That's all. Whatever it is you want, like if you want to get hooked up with a national tour, like Black Moods just did.
Did they?
Yeah.
Good for them.
Black Moods is no longer a Phoenix band. They are a national.
Good for them.
They just opened for Whitesnake on a whole bunch of dates.
Wow.
So it's off to the races for those guys.
Yeah.
They're home again now,
Yeah.
but this is today. This isn't 1988. This isn't an album that we released 39 years ago,
Yeah.
and we're going to go play 4 songs off it on a cruise ship.
Yeah.
No, this is right now.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Hey, I hate to interrupt the flow, man. We've lost this camera, and I see your drink is empty. You want to take just and get going? You
Yeah,
know?
no kidding.
You remember like the old days, where you'd carry around that little cassette player. You drop a cassette in, you could hit record and play at the same time. You could listen back.
Yeah. Well, I had the benefit of experience of being in consumer electronics retail in the late 70s. And so I was around when the first Walkman was in the stores.
Wow.
I was around when the first CD player and VHS recorders were in the stores.
Yeah.
Selling them at retail. I sold Commodore 64 computers.
Yeah.
And from there to not doing so much retail, but being a rep. So I would go into music stores, and they would be my customers. And I'd show them all this stuff, and then they would place orders, hopefully. And did that during the day while I was trying to play guitar music at night. But, your priorities change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What brought you to Arizona? You say you were from Northern California the whole time.
Well, I vacationed in Colorado in '93 and found it to be the most beautiful place I'd ever seen, with the mountains and the pines and 14,000-foot peaks.
Yeah, it's everything John Denver sings about.
Everything.
Yeah.
Absolutely it is. So my uncle lived there with his wife and his assistant, and my cousin lived there with his wife, and so I was having a grand old time, right? And I decided, well, I need to live here. I need to figure out how to live here. This is the most incredible environment in the world. It must be. It has to be. So I packed up all my junk and moved to Colorado, and stayed with Dennis.
How old would you have been about this point?
Oh, this is 93. In 97, I'm 50, so 93, I'm 56. And midlife crisis.
I don't do math, man. I don't even get it.
Midlife crisis.
Yeah. So was the move successful for a while?
Successful. A couple of years.
Yeah.
The mistake I made was not hanging out there in the winter, like judging it by the spring.
Right. So the winter was just not good
Harsh.
for you. Yeah.
Yeah, I was freezing to death.
Yeah.
And so I survived a few winters and left.
Yeah. See, for me, what I've learned in Arizona and then having moved to Michigan and back, Arizona, like 120 degrees, is very uncomfortable. It's irritable, but cold is painful. It's painful. And to me, the back, the tightness, and even just the lack of color, the lack of sunshine, it just doesn't feel like a healthy thing,
Yeah, it's awful.
Yeah.
There's nothing about snow that appeals to me.
Yeah.
At all. And I know how to ski, and I've, lived 45 minutes from Telluride. Oh, you must have been like the ultimate ski bum. You must have been in Telluride every day.
So you were living in the high country in Northern California.
In Colorado.
Okay. So when you got up in here, okay.
Yeah.
But what were you like acclimatized to then? Like as far as your region in Northern California, are we talking like the wine country area? Or are we talking where it's kind of like a
Yes, wine country.
Okay.
Yeah, Napa and Sonoma. I lived in Sonoma County for 10 years.
Yeah, so where it's like very stable
and
climate
and
throughout
absolutely
the year.
beautiful.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
vineyards everywhere.
Yeah.
It's wine shops, and I mean, it's
Is that the area that got hit by the fires?
yeah.
Wow. So
Yeah. Napa.
that's your hometown. That's your turf.
Well, 10 years of it,
Yeah.
you know.
Wow, it's crazy. But it must have been insane, like moving from, like that's kind of Central California thing. I don't know Northern California how much it changes, but it's very even climate. Doesn't drift much, I think, through the seasons, and then you wind up in Colorado.
Where you get 4 distinct seasons
Yeah.
in a big way.
Yeah. So how did that move from here to Arizona?
It was quite a shock. I mean, I couldn't wait to get out of Colorado. It was didn't work out.
Yeah.
Although my relationship with my family worked out real well. My uncle and nephew, and not nephew, but cousin, worked out really well. And I met a woman, and she's the reason I moved to Arizona.
Ah.
Because
okay.
her brother lived in Mesa. And her brother didn't have an adult relationship. So she wanted to form an adult relationship with him after all this missing time. And there was nothing left for her and I in Colorado. It ran its course. We had 2 little kids, 5 and 7-year-old girls, I mean, from a previous marriage. So it was a 4-piece family. And we moved here in 97.
There was weird stuff.
And I thought it
happening.
was great because we moved here in December. So you get out of that high elevation, freezing to death
Yeah.
winter in December and show up here
Yeah.
when it's 72 degrees out
Yeah.
and a slight breeze.
Yeah.
I thought it was the most important thing I'd ever done.
But did you get a similar shock then, though, when you got your first summer?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, because I'd never even visited Arizona before.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, here's June.
Yeah.
And people can't live like this. People can't survive this. This is inhuman.
These are your thoughts.
These are my
Still,
thoughts
or at the
being
time?
in Arizona for my first summer.
Yes.
I'm just looking out the window,
Yeah.
touching the glass, going, I can't be out in that. And I've done 20 summers now.
Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, that sun.
Oh,
Sometimes it's like somebody's holding a.
It's
blow
so
dryer to
horrible,
your
but
face,
but to your point, you don't have to shovel it.
Yeah. Yeah. And the sun.
You don't have to scrape it off of anything.
days of sunshine. You know, I mean, what, like 300 days of sunshine a year?
It is what it is. I mean, I don't like it,
Yeah.
but I hate freezing more.
Yeah. I hate moving equipment or playing outside in a summer, like these summer shows, you know? I mean, if you get...
Have you done a couple of those?
Oh, my God, yeah. And by the time you even get onto the stage, you feel like you're wearing a soggy diaper or something, you know? It's just constant. Well, you guys did that railroad park, yes? With the
We've
Eagles?
done that twice.
And you guys hit, like, right on Mother's Day. Like, right... It was like a beautiful night, right?
Beautiful night.
Like...
It was 90 out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but we hadn't really broken 90 yet, right?
No, maybe it was like 88.
Yeah, I remember it was like relatively cool on that
Yeah.
Mother's Day
It was
weekend. and
absolutely beautiful.
You guys had several thousand people.
Yeah,
sitting out
3,000
there.
people.
Yeah, and then by the time I played like a month later, and we were out there, 115.
13. Okay, so McCormick Stillman Railroad Park.
Yeah.
We are there June 16th.
Oh, are you back?
Yeah, on Sunday.
Oh my God, June 16th. Well, let's hope that
So
these
it's
cooler.
going to be hot.
Yeah, well, I hope these cooler temperatures hold out, but
It's going to be hot.
yeah, that's going to be a rough one.
We play the 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 18th.
This is all one of these nights?
13th and 14th are Rock Me Gently,
Okay.
but it's all Tad.
And but once you start doing this huge stream of shows, you're traveling too. It's not just like
Well, it's
around
in
the corner.
Maricopa County.
Oh, that's not too bad.
No. The furthest one away is like Sun City, Anthem, Scottsdale, Sun City.
Yeah. Well, those are easy. Yeah, for those who don't know, a lot with these shows, especially TAD shows, you might find yourself up in Prescott
Yuma.
one night, and then down in Yuma the next
At the
day.
Arts Center in Yuma.
Yeah.
You guys have done that, right? Americana
Yeah,
play
it's
there?
a great theater.
It really is.
Oh, yeah.
It's got a vibe.
Yeah, it really does. That now that you say that, man, there's a vibe to theaters. Obviously, do you believe that there's like kind of a vibe that gets imbued within a guitar, especially like if you get kind of used guitar? Do you think there's some kind of mojo that happens in the guitar?
No, I don't. I've played guitars that are made out of acrylic that sound as good as a guitar made out of mahogany.
Yeah, but a guitar with history
So-
really is kind of what I mean. You know, I mean, do you
The
know
whole tone wood thing, I don't buy into that. I don't, the voodoo pickups, I don't do any of that stuff.
JD's got some crazy thing, right?
Does
Is
it-
that thing that sticks
does
to
it
the
sound
back of
better?
his guitar?
Oh, I can't stand that thing.
What is it? That's a tone.
I'm not even going to say it.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, we'll just leave it at that. But there are interesting things happening with guitars.
He loves that thing, by the way.
Yeah, but see, he's a tinkerer. You know, he likes to find new things.
That's okay.
You know.
It's not my bag.
Yeah. How often do you pick up an acoustic versus an electric?
Every day.
Yeah.
Every day.
Do you have a preference one over the other?
Yeah. I think I like acoustic more. And the reason I say that is because it's like, what's your favorite guitar? The answer is the one you play the most.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
What guitar is what you hold in your hands the most hours, that is your favorite guitar.
Right.
Whether or not you've got a 59 Les Paul or, that's in a museum. So when I'm at home and I pick up my acoustic, it's so organic and it's so F sharp major 7, it's so E minor, it's so like super accessible and easy and consistent. And guess how many buttons I have to push and things I have to turn on? None. 0.
Mm-hmm.
I grab it and start strumming and it makes noise.
Yeah.
So I really like all of that about it.
Yeah.
And I can play electric licks on it.
Yeah. What do you think? How would you say in terms of like where are you more expressive in your playing? Like where does Rick Greenlee really come out?
Oh, well, that's kind of last night when we played. We were playing some pretty high-powered blues thing last night, and the place started going kind of nuts. I was like, "Oh, I'm hitting a nerve." Might have been Stevie Ray Vaughan. It might have been Pride and Joy or something like that, where it really just all of a sudden. I mean, when people they stop talking and they're just looking at the stage.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they're not dancing. Doesn't bother me. But if people are looking at the stage and they got a drink, it doesn't look like they're uncomfortable, and maybe tapping their toe or something or whatever, but you got their attention.
Yeah. Yeah. Certainly.
Then you know you're in some kind of zone.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you've done something. You've done something right.
Yeah.
And that happened last night. And so the most expressive, I think, has to be that. It has to be like, hit an overdrive pedal and start playing some minor pentatonic and just start ripping. And it usually turns out pretty good.
Well, it does, man. Some of my favorite moments doing like the open mic things, like JD's been hosting this open mic for a long time.
Years and years.
Like at Tuesdays, and really good, steady crowd coming
Years
in and out,
years.
right? But
yeah, it's a fun night.
Anytime I'm there, I'm always especially happy to see you walk in the door. And I know I'm always like, dude, sometimes I got too much energy coming at you. But I'm just always so excited to see, man, you know what?
That's kind.
I really enjoy the way that you play in the spirit of David Gilmour with your own style. You know what I'm saying? It's like, to me, the way I interpret what you're doing is you're really giving it your own thing, but you're doing it within almost like the sensibility of the artist you're playing.
I learned that from that Live in the Flesh DVD. I was watching Snowy White and Doyle and the third guitar player. They had 3 guitar players.
Yeah.
I've watched that DVD. I've watched the entire DVD probably 4 times, 3 or 4 times. And the interpretation of the feel is more important than playing it note for note. Unless it's Hotel California or something. I mean, there are songs where note for note is absolutely required. If you're going to do the Joe, Don, Hotel duo, play it dead on. Dead nuts accurate, because you're not going to play it better.
Right.
You're not. Play those licks, please.
Yeah, it's funny.
And don't mess them up.
People do look for that. They look for, especially when it's a very melodic solo, something that you could whistle.
And you've heard it a million times, right? And you can whistle it, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And there's so many incredible guitar solos like that. And Joe Satriani, being from the Bay Area, it was a good fortune to hang out with him on a number of occasions, and he's super sweet. And
did you ever have lessons from him?
No, I did not, which I regret. But he had the right idea with Surfing with the Alien, because he hung melodies on all these superhuman chops. He hung melodies on them. So you got these chops hanging out of the wall like a nail.
Yeah.
It's just a nail. Let's hang this beautiful picture on it, you know?
Yeah.
Now we got something to look at, you know? And Joe, his melodic sense, you could hum and whistle and sing along with, you're doing the dishes and singing along with Flying in a Blue Dream or something, you know? I mean, it's
well, and it had to be that melodic too, because there's no
Flying
vocal.
in a Blue Dream is not Surfing with the Alien. That was later, but you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You know, the big hits on Surfing.
Yeah. His guitar sung.
It did, and it sung with a melodic sense that was put him above the Shrapnel Shredders, where you got Shrapnel record label and a lot of speedy, hyper-dexterous guys that really don't have any melodic anything to say. And they've got
in a lot of cases they don't.
And they got a whole album out of nothing.
Yeah. I think it was just, it was like drag racing.
It is, yes, absolutely. Who can get down the quarter mile in 3 seconds?
It
well,
was. And
these
there was
guys,
that whole phase where they were all trying to do it.
I totally admire the ability to do that.
Yeah. I
can't do it, so I'm not going to throw rocks at it and say it's horrible, because I can't do it.
Right.
And number one. And number two, people like it. You know, they sell records.
I've listened to plenty.
But the guitar virtuoso thing is that still around?
Well, and on one hand, it's kind of a shame, but you see it a lot in Prague. It's still very much
Petrucci,
there.
guys like that?
Yeah, but I think they blend that sensibility of this kind of older, melodic, heart-bending, kind of
Gilmore-ish,
too. Yeah, back and forth. They're bringing so many influences into it. But then you get some people, and it's just like everything's. Sometimes the drums to me get so fast it sounds like a fucking typewriter.
Oh yeah, the double kicks and things like that.
And they're all produced real flat. They just. It's like an office.
Well, there's different things for different people. I'm not a fan of that style.
Yeah.
Personally.
Yeah. What is your favorite style of music? Like, what is your go-to thing? Sometimes classic rock gets a little old for me, and I'm like, man, I wish there was something new. But I always come back, because
my favorite music is that which I have an emotional connection with. I mean, if I don't have an emotional connection, I don't think about whatever the music is.
Yeah. Now, are these emotional connections?
And I don't seek it out.
Yeah. But are these emotional connections connected to experiences at the time?
Yeah.
Or
where I was.
Yeah.
Who I was with, what I was doing, my state of mind. Sometimes the feeling of what a period of time was is better than what it may have actually been. If I went back there and re-experienced it, it may not be as wonderful as what I remember it to be.
But the music is a great recording.
The music is what glues it together.
Yeah.
And so when I hear certain material, it puts me in a place in time.
Yeah.
that may or may not be accurate.
Yeah. Sometimes it'll even affect the way I'm sensing, smelling things or something. When I hear a certain song and a certain temperature or time of the year, it seems like I'm having these flashbacks of the moment that I was feeling a certain way, and it feels almost like a chemical thing. Whatever you call it.
Well, there's another thing that some people are able to do, and that's to cross sensitivities over from one to another, like
kinesthesia, I think, or something they call it.
Yeah, like you can see color.
Yeah,
you can not see. You can
smell, taste.
You can hear color.
Yeah, it's two senses being crossed at once.
Yeah, like sounds like, oh, it's a saxophone. It's kind of got a gold sort of tone to it. Oh, that violin. Yeah, that's more of like a purple sort of sound.
Yeah.
That's turned out to be a real thing.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I was poo-pooing it for decades.
Yeah.
I was like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Until I found out it's not.
Dude, every day they learn something more about the brain. Like you start looking more at like the mysterious universe of the brain, and you're just, no wonder nobody's got it figured out.
Exactly.
Yeah,
we don't talk about it.
Yeah.
We just sit in our little isolated spaces and
and de-evolve. We just degrade, society crumbling around us. But
so I think for 2019, for the duration, what are we at? Where are we at? June?
Yes.
There's I had, for those that don't know, on March 3rd I was diagnosed with cancer, and so it changed my world completely. I didn't know if I was going to be able to do shows or not anymore, play guitar anymore. It's advanced prostate, so it's spread to my bones and lungs and tissues, and it's all over throughout my body, and we'll see how it goes with that. But instead of like the past and influences and everything, like what's the plan now? Well, the plan is to make that record we were talking about when we were first sat down, and to play a whole bunch of shows for Tad Management and see if I can get through them.
Yeah. And you have a lot on the book, so you've
a lot
to look forward to.
Yeah, and I play guitar for a living. That's what I do. I did it before I got sick.
Yeah.
I've been a sales rep for major manufacturers, like I've worked for keyboard companies like Korg. I mean, it doesn't get much bigger than that. And so the day job thing has been all around technology serving musicians. So I've got a background in that and know how to make things work. I know how. Fortunately, I know how computer recording software works, and so the idea is to flesh these songs out.
Yeah.
Play shows, and then sleep.
Yeah.
The chemo and the cancer and all that stuff is trying to make me sleep.
Yeah.
All day, every day.
Yeah.
So to get out of bed and pick up my guitar or come to a podcast or drive across town and buy clothes, just have a life, is increasingly difficult, and it will get worse. So the battle for me is raging.
Yeah.
I have to, the desire to, I really want to make this record. I mean, I want to have it mixed, mastered, pressed before I'm done.
Yeah. Yeah. So you got to stop deciding between the TV show or the recording that demo.
The decision's made.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll tell you what, I've got an album that I've been trying to get with people for 20 years now. And there's always that talk, hey, let's get this done. Let's get this done.
Yeah.
And it's very easy to put it aside, and it's especially.
It really is.
So whatever we can do to help you get this thing done, or to.
Yeah, I've got resources all over the place that are saying similar things.
Now I know you have
people with talent and gear and resources and things are like, hey man, I'll help you, Jimmy Cat and people like that.
Yeah.
Dwayne Miller just sent me a text. Hey man, let's jam. We still haven't jammed. What's up with that? Why? Why not? And so some talented musical people in the valley, the
That'd be a great way to get it recorded and get it captured, is just get the people together and do it.
It really would.
You know?
It really would. I'd like to have a track done by this person and that person and this person and that person. If I'm not as good a bass player as a local bass player in town, even though I can play bass because I can play guitar, kind of. I mean, that's not a really valid thing to say. I know where the notes are on the bass. I don't know if I can play bass.
Yeah. Well, a bass player's going to approach it like a bass player.
Yeah, right.
You know?
Exactly. And so, do I ask a friend for a favor, and then he's on the record? Sure, that'd be great.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people who jump right in.
I think so too,
Yeah.
and we'll see where it goes from here.
You have a really good support network right now.
Certainly do. Well, you get sick, and you can't play and entertain people anymore, and that's your whole persona. My whole presence in the West Side is as a guitar player. It's kind of like all I'm known for. So if I can't do that anymore, I'm nothing, right? I mean, I'm a good guy, I'm a good human being, and people like me, so they tell me.
Yeah.
But my deal as a musician, as a guitar player,
I can relate to that. You know, I
have to do that,
Yeah.
or I'm dead. What am I going to do? I mean, I'm just sitting at home reading a book, or
Yeah. Do you find that kind of like sensing the finish line is really driving you to
more and more so all the time, more and more so.
Yeah.
I mean, this illness is goal is to kill me, and how long it takes to do that is largely out of my control.
Right.
But I have a sense that some of it might be in my control.
Yeah. Yeah.
That as long as I'm occupied, maybe.
There's a power that comes from passion. There's a power that comes from belief, the placebo even, and to stay moving, I think really connects you to,
Well, I'm just hoping that maybe it won't come as quick.
yeah. Well, there's lots to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
There's
got
lots to do.
things to do,
Yeah.
and sleep.
Yeah. And how do
It
you
just
how do you put the
tries to put me to sleep
two? Yeah.
instead of plugging in and jamming out. Its directive is, no, go to sleep instead.
Yeah.
You'll feel much better.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a rub. It's a problem.
Yeah. And nobody can imagine. Nobody can imagine. I appreciate you, sharing with that. And I think everybody, actually, people can't imagine. And I think that's why we're seeing such a huge outpouring of love, But
Well, people, I think I can write good enough songs where people might want to listen to them.
yeah. Well, if you had came on way different circumstances 2 years ago, if I had started this podcast 2 years ago, and you came on and sat in that chair and said, "Hey, I've decided I'm going to make a record," you know what I mean? The response from everybody would be the same. Everybody would be like, "Well, let's make this record,"
But now,
now you're like, "Dude, let's make this record."
yeah, and you get tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock,
Yeah.
tick-tock, time's up, buddy.
Yeah.
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 The hours available, it seems like it would be a lot because all I do is play guitar. It's like, well, dude, what if you had a day job? Then you'd really be in trouble. What if I had a day job? I've spent weeks in hospitals in the last 3 months. There's no day job for me.
Yeah.
There isn't.
Yeah.
This is it.
Yeah.
This is it.
Yeah.
I'm do what I do, and I'm going to. I think I might buy a drum machine.
Yeah,
I've got a keyboard where I can do kick, snare, hat,
And then just lay your rhythms down
with a
and
MIDI
start
recorder,
writing.
with a MIDI controller.
Yeah.
I'll try that first, but I found that drum machines are so dedicated
Yeah.
that if I play a C note on a keyboard and then an F, that doesn't really make sense as far as kick and snare. But if you go over to a drum machine and it's labeled kick and snare and it's a pad and velocity sensitive, I can really go to town on one of those.
Yeah, and that's way better than even these like pre-programmed loops that you'll pull out because
those
now
are
you're
loops.
confined to play.
I mean, you drag a loop into a grid and then jam along with it.
Yeah, and now you're in this tiny box. You know.
Yeah, and I double it and triple it and keep it going and whatever. But I'm not a drummer.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and I can hit open and closed hat and kick and snare. But if I need real drums, Jimmy said he's got a place that it's got a room, it's got a kit, and I could get somebody to. I like the sound of real drums. I like real drummers.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
programmed drum machines. I mean, that's in the air tonight.
Yeah.
Wouldn't sound good with a real drummer.
Well, and some of these things.
If I'm going to write in the air tonight,
Yeah.
then I don't need a freaking drummer.
Yeah, that's you totally except for one part. But they
And I can do that.
yeah, totally. You could do that on the little thing with
The velocity
drag on the
layers.
snare. Yeah, and so it's when you're really wanting to get like an expressive track. Authentic drums are absolutely the way to go.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, I'm excited about all of that, and it's fun to do.
Yeah.
Drum machines are $150.
Yeah.
They're not like $499 anymore.
Yeah.
$150, and they sound pretty damn good.
What kind of laptop are you running? Are you a PC or a Mac?
Dell.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know what they have. If you can get like apps, that have.
Oh, I have all that stuff.
Oh, you've got it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I've got a crazy amount of tools.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited.
Which
to
is
hear what you
another
come up
reason
with.
to have no excuse.
Yeah.
If only I had.
Oh, I used to say that
If
all the
only
time.
I had.
Yeah.
You asked earlier, how many
Yeah.
guitars do I have? And I never answered you.
No, you
The answer is about 14.
Wow.
And some of them are custom one-off. They don't even have a serial number. I mean, these are like custom shop high-end guitars.
Wow. The kind you don't even look at.
It's I mean, there's Atomic Guitar Works. I'm going to plug Atomic Guitar Works.
Yeah.
On 90-something, 91st and Peoria, maybe. They built a guitar for me that is 2 necks. One neck is fretless.
Wow.
And
As a 6-string guitar.
and I use it for slide exclusively.
Wow.
That's
I've
how
never
into
even
slide
seen-
I am.
I'm sure they exist, but it's never crossed my radar that there was a fretless guitar.
Badass.
Yeah.
It sounds incredible.
Yeah. It'd be like doing a slide on cello or something.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Now this guitar looks completely ridiculous because I had it designed like a cartoon. So it's the shape of a dollar sign.
Hmm.
So if you look at an S with 2 vertical lines through it, that's basically what a dollar sign looks like. Well, I saw that and I'm like, well, I'm gonna make the 2 vertical lines the necks and make the S the body and paint it sparkle green.
And it's cut hollow in between all those inlet cuts
and all
everything?
all the pieces are cut out, so
Oh,
it looks
wow.
like an S. It weighs about 8,000 pounds. It's got 8 pickups in it,
Yeah.
dual outputs.
Yeah.
It has acoustic guitar pickups in the bridge
Wow.
in both necks.
So is it semi-hollow?
Solid mahogany, and it weighs 1 billion pounds. And the fretboards are green, the necks are green, the body's green, the headstocks are green. The entire guitar is green as can be because it's a dollar sign. What other color would it be?
And when's the last time that's been out?
St. Patty's Day
Oh, yeah. All right.
at Yuma Performing Arts Center.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Dude, that's a crazy guitar.
Wait till you see this thing.
Yeah, I can't even imagine.
It's the best sounding guitar I have,
Yeah.
and it looks the most bizarre.
Yeah. Well, when you were picturing, like when you said green, I started picturing like that fluorescent ugly green in the 80s Ibanez guitars, and so where
No,
does
this is sparkle green like a
Okay.
speedboat
okay, so it's
or
got
a
like
drum kit.
little reflective flex.
It's metallic sparkle.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Do they paint guitars and stuff over there? They'll do like full finish and
They'll do it all.
Really? So
Yeah.
they'll build guitars from the ground up.
Repair anything
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Do they like rewind pickups and the whole 9 yards?
That I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. But they built guitars for Trans-Siberian Orchestra,
Wow.
White Snake, Night Ranger. They've got guitars that are out there on huge tours. That's the quality level.
Yeah, and they are where? Just right over here in Peoria somewhere?
Like right off of 101.
101 and
91st Avenue in Peoria.
91st Avenue in Peoria.
Yeah, they're your neighbors.
I'm going to have to look that up. So it's a full-on guitar store. When
It's
you
a
walk
two-man
in,
shop.
you've got-
It's a two-man shop,
Yeah.
and it's a guitar store only in the sense that when you walk in, there's guitars hanging on the walls.
Okay.
But they built all of them.
Oh, so they don't have any, like, they're not like buy and sell. They don't do any dealer.
No,
Distribution.
it's their own thing.
Wow.
Tim and Harry, and they design and build amazing handmade,
Yeah.
gorgeous guitars.
I found, because we've got the Roberto Van Lutherie School here.
Great school.
That we have a lot of people in town that are guitar guys.
That's right.
There's so many that you can go to.
That's right.
Yeah. So are these guys, but they're definitely your
Atomic is
go-to,
the
right?
best.
Yeah. Yeah.
As far as like the guys that tour in town, that's
Yeah. I know I asked you
That's
about
who they
something a
go.
while back. I was asking for someone.
that's who they go to.
Yeah, and that was the first thing you said, was
Yeah,
son
when
of
when
that.
they hand it back to you after the repairs complete or the setup's done or whatever, you know that you can go on the road and you'll be fine.
Yeah. Do you do a lot of your own setup, or do you?
I do.
So I mean, because that was always like a mystery to me, the science of appropriately setting up a guitar.
Yeah, I do that.
Yeah. For the longest time, I'd find myself like
I do it on electrics. Acoustics, I
Backwards.
don't have a handle on very well.
on the electrics.
I do it on electrics.
Okay, but acoustics. You
Acoustics,
don't
I'm
have
not real,
Yeah.
not as savvy with acoustics.
Yeah. So do you prefer like the floating bridge or the standard kind of thing? Like with Les Paul, it's a standard bridge. It doesn't.
Yeah, I haven't had a whammy
Float. Yeah.
for a long time.
Yeah.
No.
It seems like it's just too flashy for you.
It's not my thing.
Yeah.
I enjoy the sound of it.
Yeah.
I've seen Vi, I've seen Satriani, and those are like my two whammy guys.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing better than the way they manipulate a whammy or a Jeff Beck.
Yeah.
Probably Jeff Beck number one. But I don't know enough. I don't know enough to have it be as effective as some of my other stuff that I do.
Yeah. Well, you've got so much feel in your.
And I don't want to
fingers.
dilute my other stuff.
Yeah, yeah. For me, when I'm listening to you play, it's that left hand. You
It
know what
is.
I mean,
It
that's,
is.
That's what I'm listening to.
It is. I don't have. I can't speed pick like that.
Yeah, yeah.
I just never learned how to do it.
Yeah, I've always appreciated your intonation. Your
Oh yeah,
bending,
being
you
in
know,
tune, man.
yeah. There's so many people. They'll just
important.
They'll bend fast. They'll bend slow. You know what I mean? They don't bend to the right pitch.
Play-
or when they do, they're too fast.
Play slide for a couple of years.
Yeah,
That'll get you honest.
Yeah, I
About
bet.
intonation.
I bet. Yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah. There's no. I mean, even just a tiniest bit above.
You're out.
Yeah. Now, when you're playing a slide, you actually have to line it up directly above the fret, right?
That's
Rather than
correct.
Being,
That's exactly right.
I've never been able to figure
And
it
since
out.
I don't
can't-
have any frets,
Yeah.
it's like playing a violin with a slide.
Yeah. So there's no indication at all.
There are. I had them paint frets.
Oh, okay.
on.
So you do have that.
I have paint where frets would ordinarily
Yeah.
be. It's
How
like
well are you
silver
hearing
paint.
yourself? Like to know, okay, I'm here. Are you watching more than you're hearing? Or?
Oh, I do have to do both.
Yeah.
I have to do both. Intonation with slide is the big deal.
Yeah.
You know, to get a good tone is not all that difficult. To be in tune is the hard part. And on my fretless, I tune it to open G. So I don't even have to play a chord with my left hand. I just strum all the strings with my right hand, and it's an open G chord. And so I can move that G chord wherever I want with the slide and do all kinds of cool, crazy, like, normal blues licks you'd expect with a slide.
Yeah.
Delta blues, Mississippi blues, Chicago, Texas. I got all that stuff down.
Yeah.
So Jimmy, the other day, he's like, hey, come over and do a slide solo because because you can.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
okay. So I go over there. Did I bring my $3,000 fretless, custom-made atomic guitar? No, I
Probably
played
not,
a
yeah.
$99 Telecaster Franken guitar that
Wow.
Jimmy just had laying around.
Wow.
And we
How'd-
did the track
How'd
with
it turn
that.
out? How'd it turn out?
Great.
Yeah. So sometimes it's not in the guitar, right? Sometimes it's in the fingers, right?
And this thing is ideal for slide. It's
Yeah.
built for it from the
Yeah.
ground up.
Yeah.
And I still used a $99 parts caster.
Isn't that crazy?
Isn't that wild?
Yeah. Yeah.
Turned out fine.
Yeah, sometimes that's
It turned out
yeah,
fine.
Yeah, but, when you think about like where a lot of that blues kind of sound comes from, it comes from these really cheap
Oh, man.
kind of guitars.
This
you
is
know?
pawn shop. Yeah. Yeah. That tone is pawn shop.
Yeah.
And it's really good.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, man, Rick. I've had a great time having you over and
Oh, thanks.
having a discussion. But before we wrap up, I do want to. Just appreciate you coming over and spending the time to talk about guitars because I've always been fascinated, especially with your playing. But I thought I just wanted to ask one more question because I know that sometimes, at least from the outside in situations like this, and I know you've been on the outside of a situation like this before as well yourself, sometimes it's hard to know what can we do, what can we say, and I know you've got a great kind of support structure around you, but I mean, is there a place where you want a barrier, or how much is there anything anybody can do for you?
Well, I think I'll tell you right now, one thing I appreciate very much is people not disappearing. All of a sudden, I'm a sick pain in the ass. Oh my God, maybe it's communicable. People have all these weird fears. Oh God, he's going to be so needy and helpless and weak. And do we really want to have to deal with that in our life? Don't think of that, because that's not the case. That's not what's going on. And people are coming, they're rallying. And they're not coming to my rescue because that's really not going to happen. But just a little empathy. Don't disappear.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's got to feel especially good at this point, knowing how I guess if there is any cosmic anything in the universe, it's that love is our greatest connection to one another, and it's one of those things that you just can't dismiss it. Everybody who's ever experienced
it is, and it's getting off of our. This is really important for me today because it reminds me of the things that I was talking about earlier about the foibles and the failings of social media. And how bad it is, and how destructive it is, and unkind. It just makes me think of making some adjustments.
It's time to make some adjustments, Yeah. There's when I look at particularly, and I hate to be on the low about it, but
Make some adjustments.
But overall, humanity itself needs to make some adjustments. The whole structure, to me, it just feels like time is different in this moment, in this last decade, than it was in any decade I experienced previously. And it just feels like we're coming to a point where humanity has some serious questions to ask.
I have seen 11 presidents of the United States. 11. Been voting since Carter, 74. And boy, things are changed. I'm not gonna even I'm not even gonna dip my toe in that any deeper, any further.
It's a hot topic.
But I'm just going to say it's different, and it's not comfortable for me.
Yeah.
it's worse. People are like, well, no, it's just it's a change, it's a shift. This is things that you aren't used to. All of that's true, and it's worse, in my opinion.
Yeah. To me, it feels like the whole situation is interconnectedly sick.
Well, it is. It's toxic, it's abusive, and it's uncaring.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I got mine.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Yeah. Yeah, it really has come.
It has come to that in so many ways for so many people.
Yeah.
And I'm the social media has not helped that.
Right.
It's isolating.
Mm-hmm.
It's distancing. It's buffering.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's not being used the right way.
There's blankets that we're putting over ourselves,
totally.
that we need to take off.
I think what it is just not being used the right way. I mean, the internet.
I think you're right. I think that it could be something really, really amazing, but human beings are so stupid.
In generally, right? And that's the arc of evolution we've been talking about, right? You know, we break rocks, we get the silicate, all of a sudden we're building computer devices, and now we're further disconnected.
Look at all the
from anything.
technology in this room. I mean, there's
I can't get away from it.
It's incredible.
They're creative tools, but I'll tell you what, unless you're really using them for some greater purpose, they can become quite destructive.
Quite.
You know.
Well, the thing is, it's funny because we have the ability to launch a shuttle.
Yeah.
With the highest powered laptops you can buy today, with 8 core processors and 64 gigs of RAM and all that. I mean, it's like terabytes of solid state drives.
Yeah.
You could plug in and probably get some things done at NASA with that laptop. Mm-hmm. I'll bet you could get some shit accomplished. Mm-hmm. And what are we doing? We're watching cats eat like chocolate bars and stuff. You know, that's
it's like cute cat videos.
That's what I mean by we're not very bright.
Yeah, we've got the whole. we have the wealth of human history in our hands, literally in our hands. The entire. At least what is seeping out. Like, there's a lot of suppressed knowledge, but for generally speaking, we have the wealth of human knowledge at our hands, and we're wasting it.
And we're watching some fat guy totally screw himself up on a slip and slide, break his leg, and everybody's roaring, laughing. And people that can pull the plug on this right now, especially after a lot of us have been into it 8, 9, 10 years.
Yeah.
Oh, your 10-year anniversary is coming up with Joe Smith. It is. That's not good news.
That means you spent a lot of time on Facebook.
10 freaking years I've been on Facebook. Can you imagine how many hours?
Yeah. There is some good that's come out of it, though, in the sense that, you know, sometimes, for me, it's just like a bumper sticker. I slap bumper stickers, right? That's what I do. You know, save the whales, whatever. But, you know, when you look at the people, as I'm scanning through and I'm seeing, you know, various people, I'm seeing what they're saying, what they're doing, and I've learned a ton on a superficial level about a lot of people, and I think in that case, you know, I mean, we are understanding, you know, there is some sense of community with it, but I don't think the power of it is being harnessed to the point where you can really.
It's not, and people are always trying to figure out how to do that. When I get a message that says, "Oh, you were playing guitar at Kimmy's last night," if I'd have known, I would have come.
Yeah, they're throttling the information.
If you can't get that message to somebody in social media, what good is it?
Yeah.
I mean, she's like, "Oh my God, I would have come for sure.
Yeah.
I didn't know any of this stuff was happening."
Yeah.
And those are the things that are in my mind. Extensions of social media that translate into getting out and hanging with your friends and being in the real world and stuff. You know, you go to we're having a backyard party. Oh, great, we're going to have a barbecue. Oh, Rick Greenlee's playing guitar at Kimmy's and blah, 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 whatever. And people don't get that message, but they're seeing the cat video. Something's wrong.
Yeah. It's rough, man. It's rough, but it's cool, you know. Like I think, you know, like luckily I think I can use this technology, and you're right. I've got a shit ton of technology in here.
You
man.
do,
and you know, and this all comes at the expense of lots and lots of of waste. You know, the next biggest thing, something being thrown away somewhere, somebody's previous cameras, and so I'm just as guilty buying the shit up. But I think when we do harness these tools for something, you know, better, you know, there's good to be found in it.
I completely agree, and I think that conversations need to be ongoing, and I think they need to improve.
Yeah.
I think that conversations need to improve,
Yeah.
and we need to look at what we're doing to ourselves and be honest about it.
Yeah.
At least try to be aware of, you know, of your circumstance,
Yeah.
instead of like this disease. Like I said, it's trying to put me in bed
Yeah.
every day.
Yeah.
And that's something to be aware of.
Yeah.
It's telling me, go to bed.
Yeah.
You're tired. And if I listen to it, I'll never make this record.
You'll get a lot less done. Yeah, yeah. You gotta keep pushing forward. Well, I hope we can. You know, that the people around you can nourish you and support you and get this done and see it done. And I know people are definitely going to come out of the woodwork. So, is there any message you want to give to anybody in wrapping this up?
No, I just want to tell everybody one more time, and I said this last night at Kimmy's, that for a guy in my position whose world is changed and created a tenuous, sketchy future, don't run away or hide. Call and come see me. Let's go have some lunch. Let's jam. Let's be human beings. And make this year as good as it can be.
Yeah, there's a lot of love out there for you, Rick. Thanks for coming and doing this today.
All right.
Everybody, thanks for tuning in.